Hi, Tom. Welcome to powerofmetal.cl. It's an honor to speak with you. At Chile TerrorFest, you'll perform two separate nights, one with Triptykon playing Celtic Frost, and the other with Triumph of Death performing Hellhammer. How does it feel to bring both of these powerful legacies to Chile in one festival?
An absolute honor to be asked to do this. I'm very grateful to the promoter of the festival to have come up with this idea and have approached us. It's of course an absolute pleasure for Triumph of Death to play in Chile for the very first time, and it's an equal pleasure for Triptykon to return to Chile. The first time we played in Chile in 2018, we had a phenomenal time. We had a fantastic audience, and we always hoped to be able to come back. And now I can do this even twice. It's fantastic.
Cool. Okay, and what fans can expect from each set? Will they be close to the original version or reinterpreted to your current vision and experience?
I think they're very close to the original sound of the 1980s. I don't believe I should change this music. To me, these are very important songs, and they have their place in the history of Hellhammer and Celtic Frost. And I think it would be a sacrilege to change them too much. Mm-hmm. And especially Triumph of Death was formed to play the songs exactly like Hellhammer used to play it in the rehearsal room.
Okay.
So I think we're going to be very faithful to the original groove.
Okay, and how do you emotionally, because it was part of your 80s, prepare to revisit two such distinct yet foundational chapters of your career?
It's not so difficult because ever since the early 2000s, I'm very much in contact, so to speak, with the early days. When Martin Aragain and I reformed Celtic Frost, it was very important to us to do it the right way, to do it with a lot of respect to the old Celtic Frost. And we spent, I mean, literally months and months talking about our history and where we come from and why we played the music we played and why we created all these things. We really analyzed our whole history as adult people. And that was in the early 2000s. And ever since then, I have a very different and much more close connection to my early days. It's something that is always present in me. And right now I'm also writing a book about the whole Celtic Frost history. So I'm really always connected to the early days. And it's not, for me, it's not something difficult to connect to the 1980s music that I played.
Okay. Talking about that, you always have been clear that Hellhammer and Celtic Frost belonged to a certain time and place. But now you are performing the music live again. Have you ever considered going beyond just playing the classic? Have you thought about reviving either of this project with new material?
Well, in the case of Celtic Frost, we're doing this with Triptykon. Triptykon is basically a continuation of Celtic Frost without some of the personal prompts that we had. But even on the next Triptykon album, there's going to be some music that I wrote when I was still in Celtic Frost. And there's also new music that's very much just my music, the way I write it and the way I would have written it, even if Celtic Frost would still exist. As far as Hellhammer and Triumph of Death is concerned, there's of course only 2 years worth of Hellhammer music. Hellhammer only existed for 2 years. And yeah, we have been talking about maybe trying to write some music in the Hellhammer style. But I'm very careful about this. I don't wanna do something wrong. To me, Hellhammer is something very important by now in my life. And if we ever do this, we will be very, very careful to do it the right way. And if it doesn't feel right, we're not going to release it. We don't have to do it, so there's no pressure. We can do it only if it's right.
Okay. And what was the turning point that made you finally embrace the idea of performing Hellhammer song with Triumph of Death after so many years of rejecting the idea? What happened in your mind? Decided this is the time, this is the place?
Again, it's for Martin and me, the turning point was when we reunited Celtic Frost in 2001. Um, Talking about the old days, and it was not just in a nostalgic manner. We really tried to revisit the reasons why we formed Hellhammer, why we formed Celtic Frost, and so on. And talking about this, of course, made us listen to the old music and made us understand it maybe a little more deeply than we could when we were young. When we were young, we were full of adrenaline, full of testosterone, and we were just thinking in the now. But when we reformed Celtic Frost, we were older, we were hopefully a little more mature, we were adult men. And we listened to this music and we said, wow, some of this music is actually has aged quite well. And we actually began playing some Hellhammer songs during the rehearsals for the Monotheist album. We had the intention of playing some Hellhammer songs on the Monotheist tour. The reason why we didn't do this in the end was because the drummer we had at the time really didn't click with this music. We tried to play these songs in the rehearsal room, and they just never sounded right with the drummer we had. But then I did the book about Hellhammer around 2010. I wrote the book Only Death is Real, which is the whole Hellhammer history. And this really inspired me to try it again, but to try it with a band specifically formed for that. So I formed Triumph of Death with some very good friends of mine who I know understand the music of Hellhammer, and that's when it happened.
Wow. Okay, talking about the metal scene right now, you influence the generation of extreme and avant-garde musician. How do you feel this scene has evolved since the early 80s when you started all this shit? And do you find inspiration in newer metal bands? There are new bands that you like the most?
Of course, there's always new bands that I listen to that I'm blown away what they're doing. Look at Imperial Triumphant, for example, which are a mind-blowing band,
Yeah,
and there's many more. There's also new bands that play 1970s or 1980s style of metal, which is also very cool.
cool.
Uh, I think that the big difference between the 1980s heavy metal scene and the current metal scene is in the 1980s, at first, it was just straight metal. And if you combine something else with it, electronics or symphonic things, classical things, a lot of record companies, a lot of management said, "Oh, you can't do this. This is not right. It's not going to sell." Blah blah blah. Whereas nowadays everything is possible. The scene is so open. You can do anything in metal.
Oh,
You can be a purist metal band, but you can also combine electronics. You can combine wave, you can combine classical music. Everything's possible, which of course on an artistic level is very important. I think that's the main difference.
like Imperial Triumphant, that they play like black metal with jazz and or another bands that I don't remember right now. They are
Right, right.
surprising the scene.
Yeah. But that's a good thing. Maybe the negative thing is that there's so many bands that it's very hard for a band to be discovered.
Yeah.
Uh, there in every country there's uncounted heavy metal bands, and if you're a young musician, you want to be recognized with your music. It's probably difficult in this ocean of bands to be discovered. But the overall picture is that the scene is much more open, and nowadays everything is tolerated. You can really be experimental, or you can be conservative. Everything is possible nowadays, and that's a good thing artistically.
Cool. Okay, talking about Chile, do you have any memories of your past visit to Chile with Triptykon or South America that stand out to you?
Um, Actually, yes. Celtic Frost, when Celtic Frost existed, we never made it to South America, but we were friends with a lot of bands that played South America at the time. And sometimes these bands would come back with like all kinds of horror stories. The equipment was broken or the organization was unprofessional. But when Triptykon went there for our South American tour in 2018, everything was 100% professional. The organization, the equipment, everything was at the highest level. And it was such a good experience to see, no, that's not true. South America is actually a very, very sophisticated scene. And we had also, especially in Chile, we had a fantastic audience. We played an open air festival and it was very
Even
cold.
confrontation, it was.
Yeah, and it was very cold, but in spite of the cold, the audience was so vibrant, they were so energetic, and they gave us this adrenaline back. So it was honestly a very, very good experience. I can't say anything negative about it.
Cool. Okay, many Chilean fans discovered Celtic Frost and Hellhammer decades ago and never imagined that they will hear those songs live. What message would you like to send them ahead of Chile TerrorFest?
Well, I was very aware, of course, over the years that we have a lot of fans in South America. People always told me that, and with when the internet came, a lot of people from the audience in South America wrote to us directly. I'm very glad that we can now come for the second time. It's an absolute honor, and we're looking forward so much. And this time I can actually play my earliest music, the total underground, punkish proto-black metal, which is a lot of fun. In Triptykon, I have to be a little more sophisticated. I have to be more concentrated. With Hellhammer, it's just raw energy. So Chile is now giving me the chance to play both of these concerts, which is the best thing to happen.
Okay. Then the final question, what keeps you motivated to continue performing, creating, reinterpreting your music after so many years?
Well, I took a break or two in my life in music because sometimes, especially in the 1980s, the music industry was very radical towards bands. It was very difficult not to be cheated out of money by record companies and so on. And at the end of the 1980s, early 1990s, I was a bit tired of that.
Yeah.
I was a bit tired of record companies trying to take advantage of musicians, and I took a break of a few years. But at the end of the day, music is my passion, and music is my life. Music is my sanctuary where I'm escaping from the real world. And unfortunately, me being a child from the Cold War, I don't think the world has become much better now that the Cold War no longer exists. The world is even more in chaos and turmoil. So music is even more of a sanctuary, of a refuge. It's one of the few things that have remained good on this planet. So what else am I going to do? Music is my life.
Okay. Tom, just to end, can you send a message to the Chilean fans that will be going to Chile TerrorFest, and for the fans that still are thinking of, I want to go, I don't know if to go, try to convince them that is the opportunity to hear the legends of Celtic Frost and Hellhammer by you?
I can't really talk about legend or anything like that. It would be very arrogant and preposterous if I would say this, because it's the audience who has given me this title, and it's a gift, and I owe it all to the audience. But of course, what I can say to the audience in Chile is, number one, thank you for having us back in Chile, and thank you for giving me a platform to play my earliest music and some of the later music that you have made classic. And if you're undecided, maybe it's worth going, because you don't see just a one-dimensional concert. You see two very distinctive bands playing metal from different periods of our scene. Maybe that's interesting. We certainly will try to make it as interesting and as powerful as possible.
Okay, Tom. Thank you for being at powerofmetal.cl. Have a nice day, and see you at Chile TerrorFest in November.
Thank you for your time. Thank you very much.